which is the very last day of this tranche, as John Curtin's always pleased for me to talk about. We've been listening to more of the fucking nonsense of HN1. I'm joined by Heather Mendick, who's been following it as much as I have. What you made of what he said this afternoon?
It's getting worse.
It really is.
Slower, more mind-numbing, more contorted. And Emma, who's doing her questioning, is trying to push him really hard. And it's actually stopped working, I think, to some extent.
I think he was the most lucid of the entire time at the very beginning of this afternoon session, when he was asked about Gretchen, who was a woman who he described in his reports as attractive and well-dressed. He said, oh yes, she was attractive and well-dressed, but I didn't find her attractive.
But she was trying, was it something that she was trying to present herself as attractive?
Yes.
And that's why he described her as that.
Yeah.
It was like, this is like a typical of the contortions he does, where language, it reminds me of Humpty Dumpty.
Right, okay, yeah.
Alice in Is It Through the Looking Glass, where it's like, words will mean whatever I want them to mean.
Right,
I will be the master.
Yeah. I mean, he literally he turns the entire language on its head.
Yeah.
But essentially, this is somebody who he took out on a date to Brighton, kissed in a pub. He was like, "No, I certainly did not. Kissed not in a pub. Kissing in a pub."
And it was not just that I wouldn't kiss her, but that was the least likely place for it to happen.
Yeah.
And she's like, "What do you mean by that was the least likely place for it to happen?"
God knows. I mean, essentially, he came up with this cock and bull story about how he took her on a drive to North Wales, Shropshire.
Maybe he took some woman, and it might have been Gretchen.
Yeah,
but he's not quite sure.
Oh, it was
could have been what Gretchen was thinking of.
But I mean, essentially, he said that she was a drama queen who enjoyed the company of men, and that if he was being charitable, maybe she mistook him for someone else.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just deeply offensive, much as anything else. But yeah, essentially, she was. She never actually was in a relationship with him, but she went on some dates with him.
Yeah.
He denied all of it, but he was quite animated. Oh no, certainly not. Oh God, I've been more open and honest about everything. And
yes, right. He said that.
Yeah.
It's like there's such a. He hasn't realised the irony of that, right?
Jesus, not
it's
at all.
Awful.
Genuinely awful.
Yeah. This is a man who did not even tell the investigation into these cops who had sex relationships, the internal investigation, that he'd had a sexual relationship.
Right.
He omitted that.
Yeah. I mean, we saw on his risk assessment that Gretchen was listed as one of his key associates, but then when he was asked to extrapolate on the later document, didn't extrapolate about why she was a key associate. So why did he include her? I mean, it just didn't add up. Then we had the thing about this aspirational plan to poison turkeys.
Yes.
Which, I mean, I can just say, this is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane.
It reminds me of the vegan condom thing.
Right,
It's something which, people outside the movement might invent.
Yeah.
As a kind of
the vegan condom thing is real, but
it is real, but it's like that obsessive preoccupation that people would be in a single bed with someone, and the key point would be, I can't have sex with you because vegan condoms is not a thing. I'll never be able to have sex with anyone in my life. It's just like they dream up all these kind of weird things, including mass murder of turkeys. Yeah,
so supposedly the idea was that ALF activists were going to go and kill huge numbers of turkeys by releasing some sort of gas cloud into the turkey broiler unit. I mean, just totally unrealistic. I mean, so much so that HN1 was like, oh, this was just pub talk.
Yes, it was aspirational.
Aspirational pub talk. Yeah. But I mean, but we saw a whole swathe of documents which showed that the SDS management were like, we foiled the plan.
Yes. That was remarkable, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he ended up with a commendation off the back of it from Sir Paul Condon. I mean, the Met Chief Commissioner.
That was another bit which is great, which is, these commendations, they just came. I didn't mean anything to me. I can't even remember it now. It's like, But yes, you're right. That they claimed they'd foiled this mass turkey poisoning.
Yeah. Well, a plot which, according to HN1 himself, was simply pub talk between himself, PJZ, and one other that never got off the ground.
Yeah.
But this, internally, you'd think that they just foiled an IRA plot to blow up Parliament or something. I mean, really showed how much idle talk was jumped on by these officers, then turned into something that it wasn't, so that they could claim some sort of victory.
And now we get this investigation, and there must have been it felt like 40 minutes, but maybe it was a bit less. It was a long time on this.
Yeah, very long time on it.
Serious detail.
Yeah.
I mean, she was trying to point out the complete contradictions between the different stories, but it is just it's a point at which it becomes so frustrating because it's obvious. Like what we're saying now is bloody obvious. This was not something they foiled. But
I can't stress enough, not something ALF people, any vegan would do.
Exactly, yeah.
You know?
So it's like...
It's like bomb the mosque. It's from fucking Four Lions. I know, brothers, what we'll do is we'll bomb the mosque. I mean, just like, for fuck's sake.
But they can't say it, so you have to spend the contorted half an hour or so running through things, going around in circles, boring the... I mean, you've got this whole gallery of, like, there must be about 12 to 15 of us. Yeah. And then there's lawyers, there must be 10 to 15 of them. Yeah, yeah. And the cost of that, and the amount of time. Yeah. And yet that's what this investigation is doing. It's going round in circles about something that's clearly ridiculous.
Fucking bollocks. Yeah, absolutely. Then we got to him finally becoming friends with Brenda McDally, who is, a well-known animal rights activist, and is having him at meetings with McNally, with Callum, with John Curtin, with LTD, with all the various people who were considered the leading lights of the ALF. And it was put to him, well, if you're in this meeting, then you're a leading light in the ALF. Oh, no, it just happened to be that all these people who didn't trust anybody trusted him just because he was... he was a good sounding board. He was just like, he was like a solid guy who supported this sort of thing, never got his hands dirty. Utter farce. I mean, it was about, hilariously, it was about police infiltration and lots of, kind of going through people that people had concerns about. But I mean, he was just adamant, no, he's not that senior.
Even when there's another police report by another undercover, Christine Green, saying basically that only 2 people were trusted by this guy. Yeah. And one of them was Matt Rayner. Yeah. The much missed Matt Rayner, because he's presumably got out of the field by then. And he still claims, nothing. It's like...
Oh, yeah. It was worked alongside with that one. It would only work alongside Privacy and much missed Matt Rayner. And he was like, I never worked alongside him. I just went to some demos with him. And it's just like, I'm not buying it.
Well, no one's buying it, right? This is the thing. I mean, surely not even John Mayen can buy this, right?
Surely.
Yeah.
You'd think. I mean, it is, at the very least, he is being, kind of ridiculously evasive.
Yes.
Some of the questions, you kind of catch what the question is.
Well, at the very least. The language.
Oh, my God.
The language is just driving us all mental as well, isn't it?
Really is.
Because it's like, I guess you've covered this in earlier videos, but the phrasing like amorphous grey areas.
Yeah. The benign end of the amorphous grey area, and the less who knows what the other end of the amorphous grey area is?
The unbenign end of the amorphous grey area, which we won't go into. And then that really becomes very management speak.
Very.
And for something that. It's also bizarre, isn't it? Because the way they write these reports with this whole kind of leading lights of the ALF, it's like these are the top criminals of the day. So there's a whole kind of fiction that's invented around that. Now there's this management speak fiction that's invented around this to make it sound really good, but it was just a terrible unit. It was just like a little back office unit run by people who didn't really know what was going on, or if they did know what was going on, they ignored it, and they willfully ignorant.
Getting pissed up twice a week.
Yes.
on work time. They got pissed up outside of work time all the time.
And just claiming ridiculous amounts of overtime.
Oh, insane levels.
And young guys in their 20s and